Oh, hello everyone, it's Susie here, Crypto Granny. The date is the 28th of February 2022 and the time in Melbourne is 15:05 p.m. I'd just like to talk about obviously the crypto markets, the fiat markets and what's happening in the world. And I'd like to extend my deepest sympathy and sorrow for the war in Ukraine, where the Russians have invaded the poor Ukrainians. It's a terrible thing, and I really hope it doesn't get any worse than what it gets. Clearly, all the financial markets are talking about Russia invading the Ukraine, and everything you read is about that. How bad is it going to get? Is it going to get worse? Clearly, will it get, worse on the ground in terms of ground forces? Will it get escalated with Putin, saying if the West get in, will it go to nuclear weapons and this sort of thing? When you look at the Ukraine, you look at TikTok and those sort of things, the Ukrainian people are trying to talk to the Russians and saying, why are you here? The Russian soldiers, what are you doing? One Ukrainian man saw a Russian soldier with a tank and had a chat to him and said, look, if you need a lift, please, I'll tow you back to Russia. But the Ukrainians do speak Russian as well, and they're trying to talk to the ground troops and saying, you really shouldn't be here. This is an invasion of our land and everything else. Also, the Ukrainian government has given, has said to the population, we're going to give out 15,000 rifles or machine guns or whatever you call them, and that's for people that want to defend themselves against the invader. And they see the invader as being pretty much fascist, which is not great in itself, okay? So we did see Bitcoin get up to 39,821 over the weekend, but it was trying to rally. Currently it's around 38,000, Ethereum's around 2,600, XRP is at 73 cents, but it did come back down again from that level of 39,000 when Vladimir Putin, the president of Russia, dramatically escalated east-west tensions by ordering Russian nuclear forces put on high alert Sunday, while the Ukrainian leader agreed to talk with Moscow and Putin's troops and said, look, we don't want a war, basically, we don't want a war on our own line, in our own country, so to speak. These aggressive statements by NATO, according to Putin, the President Vladimir Putin says it's only making him more aggressive, and he's basically issued a directive to increase the readiness of Russian nuclear weapons, raising fears that the invasion of Ukraine could lead to nuclear war, whether by design or mistake. I mean, this is really scary stuff, people. Really scary stuff. I mean, no one wants a nuclear war. No one wants a war. And yet Putin, is being very aggressive by what he's doing. The Russian leader is potentially putting in play forces that, if there's a miscalculation, could make things much more dangerous, said a senior US defense official speaking on condition of anonymity to discuss rapidly unfolding military operations. So with that, Bitcoin did come back a bit. If we look at the market cap at the moment, is 2.037 trillion. Volume is 54.67 bill. Liquidity is 5.312 bill, and Bitcoin dominance is 41.33. If we look at the gainers and losers in the overall crypto market, it's around 61% losers and 39% gainers. If we look at liquidations in the market, there's been a lot. Again, more, 222 mil across 53,960 traders, 82 million against Ethereum, 74 million against Bitcoin, 4.78 million against Solana, 4.1 against XRP, AVAX, and a few other coins, including ADA and Gala. Most people obviously were long, and they got basically stopped out of their longs. It's been a very, very hard market, I have to say. And with this, obviously, this war in the Ukraine by the Russians, it even puts more risk into the market, basically. And we do see when there is war in markets, and certainly when there's sanctions and wars between countries and terrorist attacks, markets come down initially and then they go back up, okay? So this is what we're seeing. Now, Putin basically has encountered a lot of resistance from the Ukraine defenders, and obviously the Russian advance across the country has been a lot more slower than he envisaged. So, and certainly the United Nations Security Council was sitting on Sunday to convene a special session of the UN General Assembly on Monday to debate Russia's invasion of Ukraine. UN Security Council votes to convene emergency session. This has been the 11th time in history since 1950 that there's been a UN Security Council, right? And basically the assembly consists of a lot of different countries. 87 countries have already moved to condemn Russia's invasion, and they're looking to try and mitigate the crisis before it gets worse, okay? And see what they need to do about the Russian story of the invasion. So that meeting will be held today. Obviously, 11 of the 15 member states voted in favour, while others didn't vote. And the three that didn't vote was China, India, and United Arab Emirates that abstained by making a vote on Friday, which is always a concern because China is a very close ally of Russia, and what people are concerned about now is that China could go into Taiwan and launch an attack on Taiwan, which they've always believed is part of China. So we just have to see how all this goes, but certainly a lot of countries in the world are against Russia. There's been a lot of, imposition, strict sanctions on Russia because of what they've done. Whether it be through SWIFT or whether it be through trade or whatever. But the biggest one is the US and European Union leaders, including Australia, have removed a lot of the Russian banks and high net worth people and mega billionaires of Russian descent from the SWIFT payment system. And some say this could drive Russia to cryptocurrency as well. If you look in the Ukraine, there is no cash, and it could drive the Ukraine people to cryptocurrency as well. And also with these, basically all these sanctions, the Russians could use cryptocurrency to avoid the sanctions. So what we see in the derivative market is still Bitcoin futures at 38,070. They're still a bit lower than the physical market was when I took this picture. It was about $100 or so lower, and Ethereum was the same. So there's still more selling in the derivatives market. We still see Bitcoin puts at 445 million vis-a-vis calls at 89 million. Ethereum calls at 60 mil vis-a-vis puts at 115 mil. So, Western leaders all over the world have rolled out very heavy, massive financial penalties against Russia for the invasion. They're targeting major banks, companies and assets of Russian oligarchs. US President Joe Biden also announced new export curbs. Also, the Western allies have also blocked SWIFT, the global bank messaging system. There are concerns in Europe about the supply of natural gas, which comes from Russia, and also other oil-type products, right? And this is not a great story at all. The invasion of Kiev on Friday, basically the Russians did have stiff resistance from the Ukraine people, but in saying that, there's still 140 people that died, dozens wounded, civilians killed, and apparently they even, allegedly by the Ukraine, attacked a kindergarten and an orphanage, which the Russians say they didn't do. But it's not great, and we just need to see how this goes day by day. And apparently 4 million refugees have fled from the Ukraine to other countries, including Finland, Denmark and Poland. So, not great. So the West, is obviously with the US on this, whether it be the European Commission, Canada, the United Kingdom, Germany, Italy, Australia, for severe sanctions against Russia and the banks and the corporates and this sort of thing. So we just have to wait, everyone, to see what happens. Now, tech entrepreneur Elon Musk has announced the Starlink satellite internet service will be available to the Ukraine just in case the Russian government or the military turn off their internet, okay? So, the Starlink satellite is obviously out, in the world of satellite dishes and this sort of thing. And obviously the Russian government will not be able to turn off this internet site. If you look at Twitter and if you look at TikTok, you see up-to-date, particularly on TikTok, up-to-date fighting, what's happening in the Ukraine at the moment. The US billionaire Elon Musk revealed on social media the activation of Starlink for the Ukraine. It is a satellite internet constellation and it's operated by SpaceX, the aerospace manufacturer and provider of space transportation services, founded and managed by Musk. This guy is an absolute genius. And he said he will provide the necessary equipment to the Ukrainians to be able to use this Starlink's low-orbit satellites, provide high-speed broadband across the internet, across the globe, but access to the network requires an installation of special antennas and modems. So let's hope that this helps the Ukrainian people. Also, the EU steps up its support for the Ukraine. The European Union announced it would provide weapons for the Ukraine armed forces today, helping to finance and purchase the delivery of equipment. They said they will strengthen sanctions against the Kremlin, and in short, the West is forming a united front against Russia. And so, people are actually helping the Russians do what they need to do. Now, if you look at the sectors in the crypto market, what was up mainly, when we look at the sectors, the market was up, say, 2 to 3%. Identity was up 8%. That was an outperformer. And sports was up as well, okay? So Civic did well, Syscoin did well, Kilt Protocol did well, and a few others. If we look at basically just some of the sports, Flow was up, as I said, and a couple of the sports tokens, right? Also, Coinbase, their profit and loss came out. They made $2.2 billion in revenue from transaction fees in Q4. It beat US estimates by 27%. They grew their client base from one quarter to another. They had clients, verified users before of 53 million. Now it's up to 89 million verified users. Their trading volume grew 8.5 times in 2021. But they did give forward guidance for the next quarter or so that it would be slower, okay, because of all the liquidations of traders and everything else and the market coming down. Now think about it, Binance has much more traders and much more trading volume than Coinbase. Binance has literally does 75% of the volume in the market, and it would have 5 times the verified users of Coinbase. So when Binance lists, I think it's going to be an absolute brilliant stock to invest in. Absolutely. Coinbase, after these results, it did fall. Basically, their stock went down to $1.75.90, which is below the IPO they did. The IPO came off a reference price of $250. The retail element bought the coins at $275, and the wholesale element bought the shares, I should say, at $225. So the retail element, the retailers that bought, retail mums and dad that bought Coinbase shares, are down $100. Okay, so they did say their forward guidance is not going to be as good, leaving a serious mark on their performance going forward and their subscriptions and transaction revenue, which they believe will be lower in the current quarter, because they said it's also difficult to forecast the business going forward with what's going on overseas and everything else. So thus, the stock was sold down when this P&L report came out. Also, they added that there's a lot of competitors out there, whether it be, Google, whether it be PayPal, whether it be Apple Pay. There's a lot of other exchanges competing for the same clients, including obviously Binance, FTX, and a lot of other exchanges as well, plus Huobi, who's going into the US this year. Now, BitMEX founders plead guilty to Bank Secrecy Act violation. Arthur Hayes and Benjamin Dello, founders of BitMEX, have pleaded guilty to violating the US State's Bank Secrecy Act. As per a release from the US Department of Justice, Hayes and Dello willfully failed to establish, implement and maintain an anti-money laundering program at BitMEX. Both have agreed to separately pay a $10 million criminal file that represents gains derived from the offence. So certainly the US is certainly coming down on any person that's involved in exchanges that doesn't follow the Bank Secrecy Act. And you do see this quite a bit, actually, in the US. It's very litigious society as such. Now, Japanese e-commerce giant Rakuten has officially launched its own NFT trading platform, simply called Rakuten NFT. Rakuten NFT also hosts a platform enabling intellectual property owners to build their own websites to issue and sell NFTs. The plan was initially the project was initially planned to be launched last year, but it's being launched this year, which is going to be great for those guys. Now, there's a whole lot of press about Ripple and SEC, and there's many people that believe that Ripple will win, and I certainly believe Ripple will win. I don't believe the SEC has got a leg to stand on, people. I really don't. I don't think they've got a clue, and they haven't got a leg to stand on. As I said, they don't even talk about the incredible technology of cryptography or Ripple's incredible technology of cryptocurrency payments and systems and this sort of thing. There's been a string of favourable rulings for Ripple, and it is weakening the SEC's position every day, okay? Every day. And I think they will win. There is no doubt about it, right? Also, the SEC wanted a course reversal even after it sworn the Hinman's speech. And, basically everything's making them look bad. That's for sure. The attorney John Deaton said there's no way the SEC can meet its burden. The SEC must prove the two executives had actual knowledge that XRP was a security or was reckless in not knowing. But according to all the evidence, they got proper legal advice. They went back 3 times or more to the biggest legal firm in the States and were told by this legal firm that as it stood, that XRP was not a security. Also, John Deaton, the attorney, says that certainly the SEC have incriminated themselves. And this is what I said ages ago. They've got a bias because the former SE chair, Jay Clayton, as well as Bill Hinman, had very strong ties with Ethereum blockchain. And, they were actually advocating Ethereum blockchain. This puts them in a position where they were very biased towards XRP and had a vested interest in Ethereum and stating that Ethereum was not a security, okay? How can you make an unbiased judgment when you have a vested interest in Ethereum? This literally, I think, should be thrown out of court. The SEC should be compensating XRP and the XRP holders and compensating Ripple for the loss of business and for the loss of valuation in the coin of XRP, which is not a security, okay? Absolutely not. Now, Binance also donated $10 million to the Ukraine humanitarian effort from their charity foundation. The donation will be split between major intergovernment organisations, non-for-profit, UNICEF, UNHCR, UN Refugee Agency, ISANS, and that sort of thing. People that will be displaced and children that will be displaced and families in Ukraine and in neighbouring countries. It's a horrible thing, this, guys, seriously. Also, FTX, which I thought was a bit weak on their part, Sam Bankman-Fried, I think this is really piss weak, I've got to tell you, donated $25 US to every Ukraine that has an account with FTX, a cryptocurrency account. I mean, crikey, these people in Ukraine are in war. The last thing they're going to think about is opening up an account with FTX. And he's donated $25. I mean, this guy is a billionaire over and over. Sam, this is pretty piss weak. I've got to tell you that. It's a bit Scroogey. I've got to tell you that. Why didn't you just do what CZ did? Give $10 million away. These people, are not going to have a computer if there's bombs going around everywhere. Sam, it's not good enough, man. It's pretty crap. I've got to tell you that. Not good enough at all. The last thing they're going to be worried about is trying to open up an account with you, man. That's for sure. Also, it says cash transactions are almost dead in the Ukraine, and they are looking at other ways to transfer value, and certainly we think crypto is going to be the way to do that. FEX has hired Lauren Remington-Platt as the head of its... I'm very sorry, everyone, for cutting that off. I know you're really enjoying it, but it does take me a long time in a day to do these podcasts for my clients, and I'd very much appreciate if you became one of my Patreon clients. If you'd like to go to Patreon and call up Crypto Granny, my subscriptions are there. We do a vast amount of work in a day to keep up with the cryptocurrency market in terms of research, in terms of modelling, valuation models, trading bots, all sorts of things. We look at the fiat market as well. We look at the overall position in the market, leverage, who's got what, who's buying what, all sorts of things. We do a lot of work, and I'd very, very much love it if you did support us in this business, and please support us by being a subscriber on my Patreon. Thank you very much.